Today on Law Weekly, we kickstart our interview series with the presidential candidates contesting the July 14 and 15 elections of the Nigerian Bar Association. We start with Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Dele Adesina. In a short while, you'll listen to him talk about his programs for the association. He also addresses some petitions and falsehoods peddled about him by people he describes as faceless. It's a very revealing and interesting interview. You need to stick around, though, because that interview comes right after this short recap of some interesting legal news that we tracked last week. The program is Law Weekly on Channels Television, and I am Shola Shoyeli.
We begin with the report that the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee, the LPPC, has invited Lagos lawyer Mr. Festus Keyamo, former chairman of the NBA Lagos branch Chijioke Okoli, and a consultant to the Ekiti State government, Kemi Balogun, for an interview preparatory to the award of the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria 2014. Besides those three, the committee also invited 20 other lawyers. A statement signed by Sunday Olorundawsi, the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court and Secretary of the LPPC, says the interview dates shall be on the 8th and 9th of July this year. The LPPC says that the general public is at liberty to comment on the integrity, reputation and competence of any of the applicants on or before July the 7th this year. The committee in another breath warned a Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Jadigo Kebalijo, to conduct his cases in the best tradition of the legal profession and desist from unprofessional misconducts. From the LPPC to the courts, the High Court of the FCT, Abuja, last week Wednesday struck out the charges of theft against Mohammed Abacha, the son of the late head of state General Sani Abacha. The charges were struck out after the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Mohammed Adoke, withdrew the 446.3 billion naira theft charges on the grounds of fresh facts that just emerged concerning the case. The federal government had, in a 9-count charge, accused Mohammed Abacha of unlawfully receiving the 446.3 billion naira allegedly stolen from government's coffers between 1995 and 1998. Staying in Abuja, a federal high court last week Thursday gave an order restraining the House of Representatives from going ahead with the probe of the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani Alison Madueke, over allegation that she spent 10 billion naira on a chartered aircraft. The order is to subsist till July the 3rd, when the court will hear the substantive suit which was filed by Alison Madueke, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Justice Ahmed Mohammed gave the order ahead of the plan by the House Committee on Public Accounts to carry out the probe on the 25th and 26th of June. And we round off in Lagos, where the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, last week Friday closed its case at the Federal High Court in Lagos in the money laundering trial of Lagos State House of Assembly Speaker, Honorable Adeyemi Kuforiji. Honorable Kuforiji is standing trial alongside his aide, Oyebode Atoyebi, on an amended 56-count charge bordering on money laundering. Prosecutor Chief Godwin Obla, the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, decided against calling a third prosecution witness and closed its case against the accused persons. Justice Ibrahim Buba then adjourned the case to July the 7th for hearing of a no-case submission filed by the Defense Counsel.
In other news, the Chief Judge of Lagos, Justice Ayotunde Phillips, who is due to bow out of the Lagos State Judiciary next month, embarked on a prison decongestion exercise last week. The CJ, accompanied by some other judges, magistrates, members of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Bar Association, some NGOs and others, visited the Kirikiri prisons in Apapa last week Tuesday. There, the Chief Judge released 1 female and 74 male inmates, all awaiting trial.
For being satisfied that you've been in prison custody without trial for a period of longer than 2 months, pursuant to the provisions of Section 1, Subsection 1 of the Criminal Justice Release from Custody Special Provisions Act, Volume 4, Cap C40, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and Section 4A of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, you, Nandi Freedom aforesaid, is hereby released from custody this 17th day of June 2014 without prejudice to any further proceedings that will be brought against you at a later date.
History is ours when we sing unto Jesus, rejoicing when we give God the praise. With a shout of Lord Jesus.
The high population of awaiting trial in our prisons has become a recurring decimal. Your Lordship, I want to appreciate your efforts and that of the legal aid councils and human rights lawyers who have done the inmates' cases on pro bono, all geared towards the decongestion of this population. Your tenure has been wonderful. Once again, I say thank you. These efforts of yours are weighed down by recidivism, stringent bail conditions, long adjournments, and sometimes the non-sittings of courts, and this has given rise to constant adjournments.
The next day, Wednesday, the Chief Judge was at the Ikoyi prison, where she released another 14 awaiting trial inmates. The prisons in Lagos have facilities for only 800 to 900 inmates, but most of them hold over 1,500, with awaiting trial inmates constituting almost 90% of the prison population.
It's important to try to decongest the prisons, and especially for the awaiting trial inmates. Sometimes they are here for one reason or the other, but then their prosecution is not ongoing. And so in a bid to decongest and to set them free, we carry out this statutory function. Let me just give you a few of the numbers. So far, under the tenure of the Honorable Chief Judge of Lagos State, Honorable Justice Ayotunde Phillips, she has released a total of 672 inmates during her tenure as the Chief.
And now to our interview segment. My guest, Mr. Dele Adesina, SAN, is running perhaps one of the fiercest campaigns for the presidency of the Nigerian Bar Association. We talked about what programs he has for the association and its members, and some other issues that have cropped up in the course of his campaign.
I have circulated what I called a 9-point agenda.
Why 9?
Which all my mates and all my colleagues, I'm sure, have had contact with, and they have studied them. They are 9 because those are the items I consider to be germane and pertinent to these times. There's what we call understanding the times, so that people can know the correct action to take per time. I've studied the times that we are in with regards to the legal profession, the Nigerian Bar Association, and the Nigerian lawyer, and I believe I know exactly well what can make their lives better, what can advance legal practice in Nigeria, and what can promote cohesion within the Nigerian Bar Association. Now, the first of those agenda had to do with the corporate governance of the association itself. With the last couple of years, the governance of the NBA has changed. I've been intimately involved in the affairs of the bar for some 30 years. At the national level since 1987. I became officially a member of NEC in 1989, but before that time, I had been attending NEC meetings as an observer since 1987. And I know gradually, within the last 6 years, individuals have supplanted themselves into the powers and position of the National Executive Committee. NEC is no longer what it used to be. So there's a need to go back to what the corporate governance of the bar used to be. You have the president, you have the national officers, you have the NEC. All these people have important roles to play in our administration. One of the failures of this country is our inability to grow institutions, and it has crept into the affairs of the Bar Association. I want to reverse that. The president is the president, is the overall head, is the first among equals, but national officers too have a role to play. They have constitutional functions to perform. In the last couple of years, officers have been marginalized.